you can learn something for today. So I'm Ryan Pitt. I'm a product design apprentice at AutoTrader. I joined about 10 months ago. Yeah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Eniya and I'm also a product design apprentice, and I also joined 10 months ago.
Yeah, so today we're just going to do a quick talk about life at AutoTrader. I'll talk a bit about what the company is, what it's like working for them. Eniya's going to run through a bit of an apprentice life. We'll talk more about that later. Just before we start, I just want to tell a tiny little story. I remember, so I was catching up with one of my friends who currently go to uni, and he was asking a bit about what I do. And I was like, yeah, I've got an apprenticeship at AutoTrader, I work in an office, all this. And he was like, yeah, that sounds good. He went, I don't think that's for me though. He was like, 9 to 5, you just going on Excel and filling in like tables and stuff. And I was like, you're way off there. I was like, I haven't used Excel in my life. I was like, and I guess the reason I'm telling you this is because hopefully this talk will show you that the sort of office jobs aren't boring. There's quite a lot to them. You do end up doing quite a lot, and it's quite interesting as well. So.
Yeah, so what we're basically going to cover first is just insight into what AutoTrader is and who we are as a company, and then some insight into the apprenticeships that we offer, and we'll talk quickly about our experience being an apprentice, and then lastly we'll touch on some top tips that you can sort of take away that you can use when you are going to apply and stuff. And then of course at the end we'll open the space for any questions, and we also do have a stall just down that way if you want to find out anything more.
Yeah, we do have sweets at the stall as well, so I'd grab some of them if you can. Yeah, so I'll just talk a bit about what AutoTrader is. If you don't know what it is, the best way I can put it is eBay for cars. So we don't actually own the cars. We just allow other people to sell the cars online. So you'll have garages, and then people like yourself, maybe you've got an old car and you want to sell it. That's the sort of thing we do. Because of that, we've ended up becoming quite a big UK website. As you can see there, 50 million cross-platform visits, 500,000 cars, well around 500,000 are listed a day. So that's quite a lot of data and quite a lot of visits, people to manage, and this obviously wouldn't be possible without all the employees. So I've tried to round everything up to make it a lot more simple, but we have about 1,000 employees. That may not sound like a lot. I'm going to show a quick picture. So that was, I don't know how clear that is, but that was the recent conference we had. That's probably about half the room. So there's quite a lot of people there. I am probably never going to learn everyone's name in my whole time here, but there's quite a lot of people who work for here, AutoTrader, and at the same time, quite a lot of them are early career people. So we consider early careers to be apprentices like me and Eniya, and then also graduates who come straight from uni or a few months, years after. So it says there 171 in the last 5 years. Obviously that'll differentiate if you were to join. There won't be 171 because people will have got promotions, things like that. But we're proud to say we did a survey, and 100% of the early careers people said that they're proud to work for AutoTrader, and I believe that's because of our company values. So I've just listed them on the screen there. A large part of the hiring process at AutoTrader is these values. So we do look for these in people, and a lot of people may think the values are just for the recruitment, and then you get into the role and you don't think of them again, you just have people doing their own thing. That's far from the truth. Plenty of people actually make sure they are doing tasks around these throughout the day, in the week. And you do a lot of workshops, and because of these values, I strongly believe everyone at AutoTrader is actually really nice, really kind. I'd feel comfortable to speak to anyone to go to help. As an apprentice, you definitely need to do that, and everyone makes you really comfortable to do so. On top of that as well, it also helps you sort of excel in your role really quickly, whereas in other companies they might just sort of leave you as the apprentice, to go really vague here, making the coffees and things like that. It's definitely not the case here. They definitely give you the freedom to sort of have a go at things, and that's because they stick to these values. So yeah. So just dead quickly, I'm going to talk about some of the internal networks within AutoTrader. Now, if you don't know what a network is, it's basically a group of people that come together to sort of share experiences and help each other. They're basically, I've listed them here. The first one I put the Career Kickstart Network. I'm a facilitator on there, so I'm being a bit biased by putting it first. But as you can see, we've got a few. There's a few missing, like the Sustainability Network, people who care about the environment, things like that. But yeah, that's another thing within AT that I really enjoy. Yeah, so I'm just going to show some quick pictures of the office in the background. I'll try and remember to flick through. The office is literally probably about a 10-minute walk from here. I wish I could give you all a tour, but I don't think that would be allowed by the security. But yeah, so while I'm talking about the office, I also wanted to talk about what we call connected working. So obviously, the world of COVID, people had to work from home. One of the things we did to approach that was called connected working. It took us all a while to understand what that meant, but it basically means you get to have a hybrid of working from home and in the office. So I know some days, you know, maybe on a Monday you really don't want to have to get up early and get on that train. You can work from home and then, you know, wake up at like 8:30, you can start straight away. As long as it doesn't affect your team, obviously. But this is really good for someone like me. Obviously, coming out of COVID, people are a bit uneasy about being around people. So this is sort of a great way to be introduced to working life, but also being in the comfort of your home, and then you can come in when you feel like it. Obviously, the offices are really nice. Didn't mean to do that. The offices are really nice. I really enjoy being in the office. I don't know about you, but yeah. So that was just about AutoTrader itself. And I was going to talk a bit about apprentice life. There you go.
The right one, nice. I've never used a clicker before. Yeah, so just touching about like apprenticeship life at AutoTrader. We offer a range, and they are different courses, and that will basically place you somewhere around the business. So we've got up from level 3 to level 7 apprenticeships, and level 3 courses are usually like 1 to 2 years, and level 6 are obviously like degree apprenticeships, so they're 4 years. And it's good to mention that just because, you know, it says level 3 and one says level 6 doesn't mean like one's better than the other. It's just dependent on the actual course, the training provider, and the duration like you need to basically get your certificate. And you'll be splitting your time 80% work and 20% training towards your certificate, whatever it is. But you will be like in the office like 9 to 5. And just to sort of touch on an example of what that would look like. That's not a stock photo, by the way. She's Chloe. She actually went through this progression. She started as an apprentice software developer a few years ago, and all apprentices at AutoTrader start on 19.5k, and then this gets reviewed annually. And as you develop through your early career, you can get to an early career software developer salary of 25k to 35k, and then, you know, as you specialize within your role, you can work towards like professional software developer, and that will take you to 35 to 60k. And then obviously it doesn't stop there, like you would go on to senior roles and beyond that, everything like that. And that can sound pretty daunting, especially like if you're new to the world of work, or you just, you know, with apprenticeships you're just not really sure what to expect. But with an AutoTrader you do get like tons of support. We have, when you start from day one, like with induction, all that good stuff, you get a dedicated mentor and an early careers buddy. And these are people that you can go to for literally anything, like maybe, you know, questions that you wouldn't ask your manager or stuff like that. Like it's very like there for you. And you also get involved in loads and loads of like workshops, projects, like programs with everyone else in the early careers network, which means that you will be joining a community, so you're not going to be alone. And this is just a bunch of us at the conference. There's like 100 of us, as Ryan said. We make up 10% of the business. And just touching on our own experience, me and Ryan are degree apprentices, so it's a 4-year course. We've done basically a year so far, and we go to uni in like sprint blocks. So that's like, it's so hard to explain. In the uni terms, it's like 1 week in a month, and it's just good to mention that just because you're an apprentice, it doesn't mean that you don't have access to everything that a uni student would. Because you are degree apprentices, you do. You can join societies, make friends, do all that sort of extracurricular stuff. I actually moved up from Birmingham, so coming up here, I was like skeptical that I was gonna make friends. I'm gonna be like this loner, like with no friends, and just only knows like 40-year-old like. But it's nothing like that. You've got the early careers community, and on top of that, you do able to join like all societies, which I have, and I have made a ton of friends.
There's me. Yeah. So. Just for the top tips section, I just thought it might be worth me running through sort of how I got the apprenticeship, how like my journey into it, just so if you were to apply even for a role outside of AutoTrader's, any apprenticeship, you're not sort of blindsided by anything. In AutoTrader's case, it is quite a rigorous process. It's there's quite a lot of things you need to talk about, and that's because they care so much, as I said before, about the values, type of person you are. But just to begin, I remember, so I was sitting my A-levels, it wouldn't have been a year ago, probably a few months ago, and I was on like the last week, and I got sent the job advert for the product designer apprentice at AutoTrader, so I was like, I'm probably never going to get it, because it's a degree apprenticeship. I was like, I've got no chance, not going to get it. But I applied for it anyway. I thought, it might be a good experience. Then we got to the interview stage, and I was like, oh wow, that's good. I've got to the interview stage. And I was still like, yeah, but there's probably so many people going for it, I probably still won't have a chance. You know, it's so competitive. But the interview went well, and we got to what we call the assessment centre. It's basically like a full day of a mixture of doing tasks and interviews and things like that. And that went well, but I was still like, the other people on the assessment centre, they were so good. I was like, probably won't get it still. And I actually got to the final interview, and I was like, oh, wow, I'm right at the end. And obviously, here I am, I've managed to get it. The moral of the story wasn't me to sit here and gloat, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to say, I had doubts about applying. I didn't sort of believe in myself in that way. I didn't think I could get it. But the best thing I can sort of say to you is like, you can. There's literally nothing stopping you from getting any of the roles here today on any of the stands, so make sure you go out and talk to everyone. But obviously, naturally, you may doubt yourself, you may not, but there's no use in having them doubts, because everything will work out, in my experience, and I think.
Yeah, so, oh my god, the picture's so big. I didn't realise how big the screen was going. Anyway, yeah, so for me, when I started like applying, and you'll probably realise this if you do start applying for apprenticeships, you know, there's so many different stages. Like, I think one of the first sort of stages, you go through like arithmetic tests, competency tests, situational judgment tests. I soon realised how bad I was at doing those. Like during college, like you don't get taught any of this stuff. Like how am I supposed to? So before I even touched like a real application, I literally like hours, I would practice them until I felt comfortable enough to sort of, you know, attempt a real one. And that really helped. And I think a key thing that I sort of got out of that was, as well as, you know, like I had an apprenticeship in mind, I had a passion with design apprentices, so that's what it was. But also, like, not being afraid of working on your weaker areas and just being open to, like, being able to, like, progress through that as well.
Yeah, so if we had to boil it down to three things, that hasn't really formatted very well in all the design. If we had to boil it down to three things, I'd sort of say take care when writing your application. In my eyes, this is the hardest part of applying for any job. It's trying to stand out in writing. It's so hard to show like what type of person you are over a bit of text. So definitely make sure you run that over with as many people as you can. Maybe of people you might know who know much about recruiting, just run that over them. I know I did that with my stepmom for this role. She recruits quite a lot of people. She like went over it and said the sort of things you want to go over, and just make sure you mention certain things. The main thing is your willingness to learn. A lot of apprenticeships, they shouldn't or they won't be bothered about sort of your experience already. The whole point of an apprenticeship is that you're learning. So you need to talk about what you want to learn, the sort of things you enjoy, what you want to get into, and talk about your sort of drive. The second bit is research the company. I know it's quite hard to do that, but try and apply for a company that you know a lot about, and if you don't, do your research. I remember in my first interview, before I had it, I thought I'd do a bit of extra research into AutoTrader, and I was looking at one of the products we have. and I mentioned it in the interview, and I landed really lucky because the interviewer was actually someone who designed that product, funnily enough. So that definitely got me in the good books. So even if you can do things like that, just sort of showing that you've took your time to learn about the company. I know you may apply for quite a lot of roles, but it definitely does go a long way.
Last one, but I think it's the most important one, is be your true, authentic self. It's so easy to assume that you need to put on this professional front and be no emotion, especially during interviews and applying to jobs, but you all have something unique about you, and that is what recruiters want to see. They want to see your personality, and it's also for you to see if that company and its culture is the right fit for you, because it just ensures that you're ultimately working in an environment that is comfortable for you, and it just makes the work that you do the more meaningful. So yeah, thank you for listening. Any questions?
We'll do 5-second count.
2.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.